Hey guys, in this video, I want to talk to you about how to lower prolactin levels using KSM-66 ashwagandha. For those of you who have been following our YouTube channel for any length of time, you're likely aware that we talk a lot about the underlying hormonal imbalances that contribute to or are associated with almost every health issue imaginable. I have a particular interest in the hormones and related to health and disease because they are highly indicative of what's going on in the body. You see, every organ, every tissue, every cell in your body has a receptor for the various hormones produced by the body. And what's really fascinating about the hormones is that they are produced in response to pretty much everything you experience as a human being. I've gone over various different clinical studies that have shown and proven that the various stress substances in the body and adaptive substances or hormones are affected by even mental and emotional stress. So in regards to prolactin, for example, we know prolactin elevates during emotional or psychological stress. And this is likely because there's a feedback loop between all of the stress hormones. So estrogen tends to stimulate cortisol, and estrogen tends to stimulate prolactin. And as I've talked about in other studies, we know that estrogen arises under acute stress. So psychological stress, mental and emotional stress, the way you perceive life, your thoughts and emotions, in other words, can trigger the production of certain hormones. At the same time, hormones like prolactin and other hormones are directly affected by your lifestyle choices. They're affected by your entire environment, affected by diet, nutrition, and eating patterns. Prolactin and other hormones are affected by your exposure to light and darkness, your sleep rhythms, as well as the things that you put on your skin. So your immediate environment, everything from the air you're breathing in around you, the substances on your skin, so like your clothing, your body wash, everything basically in your local immediate environment and even your greater environment can be affecting the production of certain hormones in your body. So truly everything that you're experiencing as a human being, everything from your thoughts and emotions, your perceptions, to your physical environment is affecting the hormonal balance in your body. And that hormonal balance is causing a biochemical or physiological change in your body. So the hormones, they dictate the rate of metabolism. So they determine whether your metabolism is going to be fast and robust or if it's going to slow down. And from this point, the metabolism is going to affect overall energy production and all of the primary systems in your body. Is going to affect the rate of digestion, the rate of detoxification, and the strength of your immune system. So I think the hormones are incredibly important and they give us really good insight as to how our thoughts and emotions and our lifestyle practices and our environment is affecting our health. So I think they're a good bridge. They sort of bridge both of these worlds, the mental and the physical in this sense. And of the many hormones that your body produces, there is a very definite line between hormones that generally are health promoting, that ensure optimal energy production and resistance and adaptation to stress, and then hormones that tend to increase with stress, aging, or disease. And of these two different classes of hormones, prolactin actually tends to fall in more of the side of stress substances or hormones that really would only increase as your body is becoming less resilient and less capable of producing energy and coping with stress. So like other hormones like TSH, like cortisol and adrenaline, like the parathyroid even, like estrogen, all of these hormones really should be produced in trace or almost non-existent amounts under good health. So they only tend to rise during very stressful situations or as you're, again, aging or if you're, afflicted by some sort of virus or some sort of disease or something along those lines. Now keep in mind that every hormone is multifaceted, meaning that they have hundreds of different functions. They're not monodirectional in any way. However, there are primary or predominant systems and organs and tissues that certain hormones will affect, giving rise to more specific symptoms and kind of giving you an insight as to what hormones might be elevated that are contributing to your health issues. For example, and as I talk a lot about here on the channel, Prolactin, because of its strong effect on the secretory membranes in the body, so it strongly affects most of the soft tissue. It affects the kidney, has a strong effect on the gut or the intestinal tract, as well as the mammary glands and the sweat glands. So it can directly affect the skin and the scalp because of the hair follicles being a major source of various sweat glands, and have a very negative effect on these particular areas of the body when chronically elevated. It is also one of the key hormones in regulating calcium metabolism. So when prolactin is chronically high, some of the major symptoms that you'll run into is issues with all these areas. So as I mentioned so often in these videos, prolactin can directly contribute to hair loss by negatively affecting the hair follicles and as well as the skin overall. It can cause the oversecretion of sebum or oil in the sweat gland, which can clog up the hair follicle. It can clog up the skin pores, leading to acne, but also this could interfere with good and normal hair growth. Over the long term, due to its effect on calcium metabolism, prolactin can actually stimulate parathyroid, and together parathyroid and prolactin will start to derange calcium metabolism. It can lead to the decalcification of the bones and teeth, contributing to not only tooth decay and osteoporosis, but it can also deposit that calcium into the soft tissue, leading to the hardening of the arteries, as well as the calcification of the overall soft tissue, including the scalp. And one of the major things that prolactin will do almost immediately is interfere with normal and healthy sexual function, libido, and fertility, because as a stress substance that is actually increased by estrogen in the body, both prolactin and estrogen tend to compete with or oppose the sex steroids like testosterone. So oftentimes when prolactin is elevated, it's associated with the deficiency of testosterone. So you'll notice that low libido, erectile dysfunction, and general sexual dysfunction are all common symptoms of elevated prolactin levels. So prolactin serves a purpose like other hormones, but again, it's more of a catabolistic stress substance that sort of only should be produced in emergency states. So I look at prolactin as one of these emergency hormones. You don't necessarily want to get rid of it, you just don't want to have to rely on it. That's sort of like relying on using the donut wheel to drive your car everywhere. You might get from A to B when you need to, but it's obviously not ideal over the long term, and it could lead to fatal or destructive issues. So beyond that, prolactin has been well documented and seen in a variety of different issues that I've already touched on. As you see here in this study mentioned, prolactin elevates under emotional stress. In this study, we see that prolactin is elevated in osteoporosis, again due to its effect on calcium metabolism, stealing calcium from the teeth and bones. And as we see in this study, which is sort of the highlight of this video, prolactin is definitely elevated in sexual dysfunction. So primarily low sperm count, low sperm quality, poor reproductive health overall. This could lead to low libido, low sex drive. Pretty much every aspect of sexual dysfunction could be contributed to elevated levels of prolactin. And again, the primary way that prolactin is inhibiting good reproductive and sexual health and function is typically by opposing the production of things like the sex steroids like testosterone, which are crucial for good sexual health and function. So I know this is sort of a long-winded introduction on ashwagandha's effect to lower prolactin, but I figured, we actually haven't dove into too much detail about the negative effects of prolactin. I tend to mention it here and there sporadically throughout the videos. So I figured I'd give you a little bit of background so that way you can see that lowering prolactin is not going to be just beneficial for improving your sexual health and function if you're a male. That's definitely going to be a key desire probably for most of you watching, but it's going to be systemically beneficial. And again, prolactin is probably elevated in most health conditions you could think of. Again, some of the primary ones being, other than sexual dysfunction, low libido, erectile dysfunction, it's going to be hair loss of all sorts, osteoporosis, the general calcification of the soft tissue. So, having fibrotic skin tissue that looks more aged and less healthy and vibrant than it should be, as well as tooth decay, amongst many other problematic conditions that are very prevalent today. So getting back to the study, this was actually done on the KSM-66 ashwagandha and was found to improve semen quality by regulating the reproductive hormone levels as well as oxidative stress. So as I talk about a lot, Hormones like prolactin that interfere with energy production is going to lead to oxidative stress. Typically, all oxidative stress is preceded by or at least associated with inflammation, which is the byproduct of impaired energy production. And a lot of these stress hormones, the major thing that they do in terms of their negative effect is interfering with energy production or the cell's ability to make energy. So testosterone and the reproductive hormones actually have the opposite effect. They tend to drive the rate of metabolism, ensuring good energy for fueling every cellular function. So if we look at the study, basically it was found that the treatment of ashwagandha not only reduced oxidative stress, more than that, it improved the levels of testosterone and reduced the levels of prolactin, which are good indicators of semen quality. So basically, ashwagandha is capable of reversing the hormonal imbalance that you see in infertility and a lot of health issues where prolactin and estrogen and other stress hormones are high and the sex steroids like testosterone are low. Ashwagandha can reverse this, which is optimal. That's ideal. This is hormonal imbalance when the stress hormones are higher than the adaptive anti-aging androgen sex steroids. So by reversing it and ensuring you have a greater level of the androgens to the stress hormones, you're going to be putting your metabolism in a more ideal state that's ensuring good health, and in this case, good fertility and sexual health. So for those of you that are aware of prolactin and its degenerative effects, or for those of you that have been experiencing some of these issues, like hair loss, maybe osteoporosis, sexual dysfunction of any sorts, maybe even teeth issues, or just general low energy or fatigue, and you haven't been aware that prolactin was a major culprit to these symptoms, now you are aware of at least one very simple thing you can do to start correcting this issue, which is to start supplementing with some KSM-66 ashwagandha. This is one of my favorite herbs because it's one of the most systemically beneficial herbs and has some of the most incredible research that backs all of its traditional claims. And it's something that I've seen in myself to work almost immediately. Now, if you're curious as to how long it might take for ashwagandha to work, I'm actually creating a future video on that exact topic, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, if you have been dealing with any of these issues, especially a lot of the sexual dysfunction issues that are popular here on the channel, and really any symptom of accelerated aging in both men and women, then I would highly recommend looking into supplementing with the KSM-66 ashwagandha. However, that does bring this video to a close. If you've enjoyed it and found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel for future videos similar to this one, and of course, if you're interested in learning more or supplementing with and purchasing a high quality KSM-66 ashwagandha, you can find that on our online tonic herb shop in the description box below.